Hi, everyone. This is Scott Nybakken for Dynamite Entertainment. I'm here today with writer Luke Lieberman to talk about his latest series starring the she-devil with the sword, Red Sonja, Death and the Devil. Luke, thanks for joining us on the channel.
Glad to be here. How you doing?
Not bad. So, Death and the Devil is a sequel of sorts to your story, Birth of the She-Devil, which came out
Mhm,
a few years ago and was set relatively early in Sonja's life.
mhm.
Can you give us a quick recap of the events of that story to set the scene for this new one?
Yeah, one of the things I feel like there's an unexplored period between when, Sonia's sort of origin and when we meet her later on, like kind of her teenage years that I don't think anyone's really gotten into. And what I like about the period is that she makes a lot of mistakes. She's like still learning. She's kind of in the process of becoming. She's deadly and talented, but sort of the strategy is still. She's not quite got all the full street smarts and battle smarts that she picks up later, and so she's still learning lessons. And in Birth of a She Devil, she is looking for her. It's sort of one of her original mistakes, right? She was trying to pull a job, and an innocent girl who she was friends with got killed in the process because while she intended to rob this girl's father, she got mixed up with people she didn't properly understand, and they killed the girl. And excuse me, they killed her father, and they took the girl as a slave, and the girl was essentially a sex slave. And so Sonia feels bad, and she kind of goes on a mission to find out what happened to this girl and to try to make things right. And on that mission, the first person she talks to is the Sultan of Tehran. And by talk to, I mean, with a sword to his head. And, she stabs him to get some information. She just doesn't expect him to die that quick. So she ends up without any information because, like kind of frustrated with herself because she got angry. She didn't play it cool. Uh, she didn't get the information she needed because she was so hot headed. She just kind of killed him. And I thought that would be an interesting sort of entrance point because here's another mistake. I mean, she meant to kill him anyway, but not so fast. And the thing is, when you kill the head of a country, it has huge ramifications for the country. So, now we're a year later and the country is in total chaos. It's, blood in the streets, warlords fighting for dominance, and a serpent cult, set basically making its move. And there is, one of the warlords right after the Sultan died made his move and killed every family heir he could get his hands on. But one of them, who was kind of like a hapless bastard, managed to get out of the city. And he was snuck out of the city by the Sons of Set, which are, kind of the snake cult. And they want to brainwash him into their cult and use him as a puppet to rule the country. And Sonya's going to go try to get this kid and put him on the throne and, settle things out. And, again, there are some misjudgments there in that she doesn't really know this kid, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, like as a mature character, Sonya has always been like a classic, like soldier of fortune and carouser, and not really given to altruism or missions of improvement. But
Mhm.
on this one, that she does embark on something like that. And how do you like? Do you think her natural temperament towards that is helpful or a hindrance for this kind of quest, like in her early career like this?
Well, so yeah, when we meet her, she's very jaded and later in life. And at this point in her life, she's jaded about some things. I mean, she's definitely seen the underbelly of the world, but she still has some idealism in her. And I would actually also say even the soldier of fortune character later. I mean, Sonia's always had a heart. Um, and there's always, she may keep people at a distance, but she's got a heart. This is sort of, but this story and Birth of a She Devil is part of how the hardening around her heart, right? I mean, it's kind of how we got to that. Just a little bit of the calcification. And one of the things I like about the the teenage version of Sonya is that she's not so great at regulating her emotions. You know, she's a more emotional character. She's a little more out of control. She acts more rashly. She's a little more reckless, you know?
Yeah. And so in the new series, her main antagonist is a character named
Yeah.
Bloodless,
Yeah. I love
one of the
Blood.
rivals, like vying to claim the throne of the Sultan. Without spoiling too much, can you describe his relationship to Sonya and the heir to the throne that she's trying to protect?
Well, he seeds dead people.
Hmm.
Um, Bloodless is, he's not like a straight up villain, but he's kind of the kind of person who she becomes, like sort of maybe a little more dark version of it, but sort of what we were talking about, where it's a straight up soldier of fortune, and he's been hired by somebody we don't know to go get this kid. So they're a little bit in competition to try to get to this kid. You know, and sometimes partnership, sometimes competition, sometimes frenemies. You know, where that lands, I'm gonna let you read. But you know, I always liked some of my favorite stories, the old Sergio Leone westerns. You know, Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, Fistful of Dollars, that kind of thing.
Oh yeah.
So they've got that kind of Tuco Blondie, you know, competing gunslinger kind of vibe to them. That was sort of the template for this.
And finally, the artist on the book, Alberto Locatelli, has a very distinctive style that we saw most recently in his atmospheric series, Vampirella Dead Flowers. What was it in his work that attracted you for this story?
Well, he was chosen. I mean, like you know, Dynamite showed me a bunch of different artists, and he's the one I picked. And it was because I had a very specific look I wanted for this book. It's a little sort of Tim Burton-esque in its kind of, particularly with Bloodless. That was kind of the vibe, right? You know, Bloodless is a little bit, you know, he's got a little bit of that Pumpkin Jack kind of Johnny Depp kind of vibe to him. I mean, I think actually one of the things I told him to look at was Dead Man from Jim Jarmusch, the
Hmm.
you know, one of the first Johnny Depp roles, which is like this cool New York indie. And that's the vibe I wanted. I didn't want it to look like just like a straight superhero comic book. I wanted it to have some stylization that lent itself to the story. And he really, you know, I mean, he obviously nailed it, but you know, he was already nailing it. He had the look that we wanted for the story. That's what he's excellent at, and that's what he did excellently.
Well, Luke, thanks for giving us a look behind the scenes of the this upcoming epic. Red Sonja, Death and the Devil #1 hits comic stores this September, so make sure to pre-order it now, and don't forget to hit those like and subscribe buttons. Thanks for watching.
Thanks, guys. Enjoy it.